welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown here. That's me, and you're not. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and at Lakeena on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, so you can catch all the 5 live shows throughout the week. You happen to miss them, you can go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can follow us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can find Sports Zone Chicago once again on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You want to catch the audio version of this podcast, Second City Sports? You can do so by subscribing to War on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Make sure you type this in your search engine boxes on those podcast platforms. You ready? It's WARR on Anchor. Once again, that's War on Anchor. And you can follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, at War Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. You have any definite opinions on any of our topics that we're going to cover during today's show, including in our 2-hour extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions and comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll in order to do something stupid, I've given Lakeena full boat to give you fools to bill and be a boot.
Bye-bye.
I love when she says that. But before we get started, we must remind you that you can now also catch Sports Zone Chicago also on Roku TV. That's right. You can catch Sports Zone Chicago on your Roku television. Get with the program and celebrate with the squad. Sports Zone Chicago is now officially on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just click on the sports folder and download Sports Zone Chicago that way. If you don't have a Roku TV, that's okay. I know you have a streaming device or two laying around, your iPad, iTouch, iPhone, Chromebook, like I'm using right now, or your laptop or your personal PC. Just download that Roku TV app and you go to the sports section and download Sports Zone Chicago that way. So there's no more excuses, folks. So make sure you can catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV, live and on demand, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
And make sure you guys, with all the football season coming up, it's a perfect time. It's free, it's easy, it's simple.
Yes.
So just
free.
Yes, it is. Can't express that enough. All right, so let's we got a busy show today. We got Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. He'll be joining us at the top of the hour at 1 to preview the AFC North and all the Browns happenings and whatnot. We'll also be talking about week 0 in college football. Yep, college football is about to start, folks. It kind of just snuck up, I think, a whole lot of folks. But we're gonna start off by talking some Bears NFL with the week 3 of the preseason is commencing. And Sid, you know what? You got Tevin Jenkins switching positions. You might be better at that. I know some people want to kind of started to want to change their expectations and such when it comes to the Bears. What about you? Because I think I'm keeping my thing low, like 7-9. I think that they'll probably end up winning that that much. And what do you think?
Well, what I'm looking forward to for the game between the Bears and the Browns tomorrow in the preseason finale is who's going to separate themselves. Who's going to separate themselves from the men for the boys. And first, how are the starters going to look? Because head coach Matt Eberflus said that most of the starters that are available to play for the Bears, they're going to see between 25 and 30 snaps. So that's the majority of the first half. I want to see how Justin Fields has progressed throughout this preseason. You could do a whole lot in practice, but it doesn't translate into games until you actually go out and do it in an actual game. So I want to see how Justin Fields progress. I want to see how the offensive line gels, because you know as well as I do, Lakeena, offensive lines take time with the signals, with the play calling, with the protection schemes and things along that line. I want to see how that unit operates, not just the running game, but in the passing game as well. on the defensive side, I know there's a few injuries that's lurking around this Bears defense. I know they looked good so far throughout this preseason, in particular the second and third stringers will be keeping this team with that energy afloat. You can credit the head coach for that. I want to see how they fly around and they continue to keep up that energy. So this is really a lot to look forward to tomorrow night's preseason game. Like you said, Lakeena, there's no more 4 preseason game schedules. It's down to 3 for the second year in a row. This is going to be permanent now, so people got to get used to it. So for the Bears, I want to see how the first team defense and the first team offense looks. That's going to be key. I think you're going to know what you're going to get for your backups, but this is definitely the dress rehearsal for the starters. I think this is going to go a long way to see what we're going to see in a couple of weeks against the 49ers on September 11th.
I think for me, it's going to be very interesting to see, is all this okay? We're seeing guys that are okay. Yeah, it's great to see the second stringers and the third stringers and such, but we need to see how the first stringers do. We haven't really seen it because they had a short week last week. They had to go across country to Seattle, so we really don't. I mean, you can hear what folks are saying. Folks who cover a team, like, hey, Fields, pass this guy, or he had to throw a better reception, the defense and such, this guy looks good on the O-line, this guy looks better on the D-line. And let's remember too, Roquan being there now. It'll be interesting to see how motivated he is, because of course he cut off the contract negotiation. So he said he's going to bet on himself. So we'll see how he's going to look. So yeah, it's sort of one of those things where I'm going to keep my expectations, as I've been saying, because I've seen some folks say, well, they can win 10 games. I mean, look, could they? Sure. Will they? That's a whole totally different story. I mean, we don't know how this. We still haven't seen a lot from this offense yet. We haven't still. We don't know how the defense is going to look. Defense had a lot of injuries, so I just don't. I'm keeping my expectations low. I know people want to kind of. I've seen like certain Chicago media people want to say, oh, they're gonna 10, 11 wins. They're gonna win the division and such, but. I think people need to kind of just tame their expectations a little bit. I mean, I know people want to compare this team to what happened with Philadelphia last year. They kind of came out of nowhere and they got into the playoffs with 9 wins. So I'm like, okay, yeah, could that happen with the Bears? Sure. Will it? I mean, that's a whole different story, because I would argue that Philly squad is actually a little bit more talented than this Bears squad. So that's just me.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more, Lakeena. Of course, we'll give our official predictions during our show next Friday, and before this is the last weekend before the regular season starts. And here's the thing for the Bears: as I said on Monday, as I said last week following the Seattle game, we're starting to see early signs of the Matt Eberflus era. Well, we haven't seen the finished product yet. Of course, there are going to be roster cuts to fit the 53-man roster coming up around this time next week. Of course, you're not going to see the championship core players on the team. Not all of them are here yet, so you're going to wait at least another year. So, like you said, could the Bears surprise some people? Sure. But I'm not hopping on that bandwagon yet. I know I accused you of calling you negative Nancy the last couple of shows, but even I also say you can attest me. You can attest to this. I'm enjoying the moment for the moment, but there's still a long way to go. And tomorrow night is just another step in that process. Now, like you said, could they surprise the people? Sure, but we're starting to see early signs, Lakeena. We don't even know how this team is going to look on opening day. They could cut a couple of people that may play well tomorrow that should be on the team a couple of weeks from now. We just don't know. So tomorrow night is going to be another stepping stone.
And I think that's going to be the thing. Like I said, will we see more of those, plays, those plays that they're talking about? Will we see more of that, sort of like, we'll see if Fields has a bad game, is that going to be a litmus test of what's going to look like during the season? I don't know. I mean, I feel like I think people need to kind of just keep their expectations sort of leveled and just look, this team is not going to be very good. I think people need to be mentally prepared for that. And I'm thinking that, look, I heard some people say, like somebody said, well, they're going to be a top 5 defense. Well, where? I mean, we know Robert Quinn. I mean, look, but he's getting up there in age. Roquan, I know, yeah, he'll be extra motivated, sure, but you really don't have too much, with anybody else. Jalen Johnson, when healthy, is one of the, he's a really good secondary guy. But again, we just don't know, and I think that's going to be the thing. But like I said, we'll see. I think, like I said, when we get to our predictions, I'm keeping my expectations low. I'm going to keep my my record of what it is. So.
You're listening to Second City Sports, the Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live and in living color. Sid Lakeena here with you, talking Bears in NFL preseason week 3. Just a couple notes to wrap up on the Bears side of the conversation, Lakeena. as far as the defense is concerned, I think it's going to be better than what people expect. Like you said, you have a few playmakers, but who's going to be the unsung hero of this defense? We just don't know. Jaquan Brisker, it looks like he'll even though he has a thumb injury, it looks like he'll be ready for week 1. But I told you, I like the way that young man has played in limited action in the preseason so far. What kind of year Eddie Jackson's going to have? Is he going to, first of all, is he going to play tomorrow night? If so, how's he going to look? So there's still more questions than answers, and I know people want to see change quickly around the NFL. Yes, things have to go your way, but folks, this is just a start of hopefully something big. But right now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, say there's playoffs in your future. Now, when we do our shows in December, could we tell you that we were wrong? Of course, I'll be happy to come on and say I was wrong. But right now, I know we're as Bears fans, as Chicago sports fans, we don't consistently see winning championship teams every year or every other year. But championship teams don't look like this, Lakeena. You know this. When you're rebuilding, this is what it looks like, and that's what the Bears are going through right now.
And I think people need to remember that now going into the rest of the NFL. I mean, if you saw a little bit of, yes, I saw a little bit of that Houston San Francisco game. I mean, look, okay, yeah, Houston, shut out San Francisco. Trey Lance, I think, only played like 1 series. He looked okay, 7 of 11 for 49 yards and such. I mean, like I said, you didn't see a lot with a lot of, because usually, like, sometimes in the third preseason game, you may see the stars a lot, but you may not. So it really depends on it. But yeah, I think, look, Trey Lance, I mean, look, the Bears are going to be facing him in week 1. And I think this is going to be very interesting to see how this approach. I'm sure, Lance probably has a lot to prove now. The team is his now. So I'm going to be interested to see how that looks once we get closer and closer.
Yeah, and also too, that 49ers defense is still good. And they're gonna have something under Justin Fields' sleeve in a couple weeks when they travel to Lake One to take on the Bears. But I'm sure San Francisco, I know you watched it, I didn't get a chance to watch it last night, but I'm sure San Francisco ran some basic plays. As we say all the time, Lakeena, and Luke Cannell has actually reminded us, when he was on the Dean Davis show a few years ago, your first 3 opponents that you play, you're not going to show anything exotic on film. And I'm assuming that San Francisco did it safely last night. You said Trey Lance only played 1 series. They're going to have some surprises up the Bears' sleeves, especially for that defense, especially if some people expected the Bears' defense to be at least in the top half in the NFL. We'll see about that. But, San Francisco is going to have something up. Their offense is going to have something up the Bears' defensive sleeves.
Absolutely. So we'll see. We'll get more into it with, when we get closer and closer to week 1 now. The Packers and the Chiefs, played. That was the first game to premiere on Amazon Prime. I don't know if a lot of you, we'll recap a little bit of that in just a second. But the Chiefs did a really nice thing here. Len Dawson, who won a couple of Super Bowls with the Chiefs way back when, passed away earlier this week. They actually did the choir huddle. If you guys remember, you guys didn't get a chance to see it. Pat Mahomes sort of led it with the rest of the offense. That little choir huddle that the Chiefs were known for. Got into the Hall of Fame in '87 with the 6 AFL All-Star games. Remember, he played in the AFL before that. 1 Pro Bowl, passed for over 28,000 yards. Also, 2 was an analyst for CBS and NBC. And of course, probably one of the most famous calls for me was, this was before we were born. I think you might have been a little bit, you were probably just like a baby, Sid, but the Miracle at the Mets, at the old Metropolitan Stadium over just outside Minneapolis for that Browns Minnesota game. Of course, they Hail Mary the time Kramer passed over to Ahmad Rashad. That was probably, he said, "You're kidding." After Rashad caught that touchdown pass.
I saw that on film. Yeah,
yeah, I saw that on YouTube recently, and just a really solid player. Was a great analyst. Sort of like kind of broke that mold, and they were the ones along that just sort of helped kind of show that the AFL, they actually have some talented guys. That was part of what ended up happening with the merger with the AFL and the NFL, I should say.
Yeah, and also too, I remember Len Dawson growing up as a child, as a teenager, watch him on the old HBO's Inside the NFL. I know it's on Paramount Plus now before people yell at me, but I remember watching him, and of course now the late Nick Bonacani, who passed away tragically a couple years ago. It was those two, Chris Collinsworth, and I know Jerry Glanville came on in the 90s, but he was great on there too. I know he was a sports cancer at Kansas City. I know he did the Chiefs games on radio for many years, along with Mitch Holtis, who's still doing it now, one of the great voices in the NFL. And so he was a very insightful guy, and I learned about his career watching those old NFL films episodes. And did you know that his old coach, who passed away several years ago, Hank Stram, he was the very first head coach, Hank Stram, to get mic'd up he turned out to be the first Super Bowl winning coach to get mic'd up for an entire game when they beat Minnesota.
Yeah, and we saw that. Yeah, what the hell? Well, it's sort of one of those things.
Yeah,
where he actually did it in a way that he didn't swear, so that was kind of like one of those things. I mean, between Dawson and Willie Lanier and a lot of those players on those early 70s, late 60s, early 70s Chiefs teams. So just kind of like like I said, let the Chargers are kind of merging with the NFL and the AFL, showing folks that hey, they actually won the very first Super Bowl. So kind of very cool how the Chiefs honored him. I'm sure they're going to do that throughout the season. So just want to give a shout out to that, and rest in peace to Mr. Dawson, and such. But what also caught your eye in the NFL this week?
That Rams and Bengals training camp fight, Lakeena. I understand fights are going to happen between teammates. We understand there's pushing and shoving, but when you had to stop practice twice and helmets are coming off and just stuff that crosses the line. If you're the NFL, I know it looks like we may have joint practices in the future to replace these preseason games eventually. But if you're still going to have these joint practices, you're going to have some restrictive rules, because what happened yesterday just cannot happen. I know Aaron Donald of the Rams got involved. He was involved in it as well. Lakeena, I know things get testy among the linemen, and that's the way football is played. But when you cross the line and you have to stop practice twice, there's something wrong there, obviously.
Well, it's sort of one of those things where, look, I think things happen and things get a little testy and such. I don't know who thought that having these two teams play each other would be a good idea. Practicing with each other, it was a good idea, especially after what happened with the Super Bowl. But again, I digress. But
right.
As for this, this whole thing about people say, "Oh, should Aaron Donald get fined?" I mean, look, this isn't the NFL's jurisdiction. I think because if these practices are run by the teams and not the NFL, these aren't games and such. It'd be a different story if this happened during a game. I know people want to compare the Myles Garrett situation, but that happened during the game. This happened at practice.
Which is much worse.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure Les Snead's gonna have a nice little talk with him. I'm sure they're gonna find him. I'm sure they'll make him apologize and whatnot, and it'll keep it moving. People trying to make it a big issue. The NFL is not going to do anything. This isn't their jurisdiction. So I know people want to make a bitch and moan because some other stuff that happened, but you can't compare You can't compare the situation. You just can't. So
no,
with these open practices and such. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll give it a rundown on the schedule for Week 3 of the NFL preseason before we break for the bottom of the hour. Of course, the Bears and the Browns will do battle in the dog pound tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I know you can watch that game nationally on NFL Network, locally here in Chicago on Fox 32. Remember, Fox 32 locally will not broadcast Fox Saturday Night Baseball, so it will be replaced by the Chicago Bears. So make a note of that. The rest of the schedule looks like this. Tomorrow, Saturday, the Jaguars are at the Falcons at 2 o'clock. That's live on NFL Network. Following that game at 5 o'clock will be the Rams and Bengals. I think it's safe to say there'll be no scrimmages in that one. There'll be a bunch of backups trying to make the team of the practice squads in that game. Of course, continuing with the Saturday schedule, you have the Cardinals at the Titans, the Eagles at the Dolphins, the Washington Commanders at Baltimore. You have the Buccaneers at the Colts. Tom Brady will start that one tomorrow. And you have Minnesota at Denver. They'll be live on NFL Network at 8 p.m. And then, of course, two games on Sunday. At noon, you'll have the Giants and the Jets. They'll be on NFL Network. And then, of course, on CBS on Sunday at 3:30 p.m., you'll have Detroit at Pittsburgh.
All right, so that's your last week NFL. I'm sure I guess it depends on which games you're going to be watching. I mean, you're probably going to have some guys that are going to be, you might see the stars for like maybe a quarter or maybe like half a quarter and such. You may see like all backups and guys trying to make the team. So I think this is sort of like the time of year where this is why they only do 3, is because of the fact that this is more for guys that are trying to make the team. So we're going to take a really quick break. And we're gonna, Sid. I want to do baseball first, but Sid wanted to, didn't want to get his blood pressure up because of the Sox loss yesterday. But they lose their series against the Orioles, a big opportunity to try to make up some ground. The Cubs lose an opportunity to try to win their series against the Cardinals, and some other stuff too. Like weekend games, including some big series coming up this week. Lots to do still on Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Sidney Brown, Lakeena McGee going to be talking some baseball right after this.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. Light day around baseball today. Cleveland at Detroit. The White Sox visit Kansas City. The Cardinals are at Denver. The Astros host the Rangers. The Red Sox at home against the Orioles. The Cubs take on the Reds in the Field of Dreams game in Dyersville, Iowa. The NFL preseason kicks into high gear this week. Tonight, the Giants visit the Patriots while the Titans head to Baltimore. Tomorrow, the Falcons visit the Lions. The Browns are at Jacksonville. The Jets visit the Eagles. The Cardinals at Cincinnati. The Packers are on the road at San Francisco on Saturday. Carolina at Washington. Kansas City at Chicago. The Bills host the Colts. The Bills, the current favorite to win the Super Bowl. The Seahawks visit the Steelers. It'll be the Dolphins at Tampa. The Texans hosting the Saints. The defending Super Bowl champion Rams battle the Chargers at SoFi Stadium. Denver at home against the Cowboys, while the Raiders host the Vikings. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
With our newest unlimited plan, everyone's welcome. Introducing Welcome Unlimited from Verizon for just $30 a line per month for 4 lines with autopay plus taxes and fees. Our best priced unlimited plan ever.
Did he say $30?
Yep, $30 a line for the whole family. The network you want, the price you love. Switch to Verizon today. Paper-free billing required. Unlimited 5G nationwide 4G LTE. In times of congestion, your data may be temporarily slower than other traffic. All smartphone lines on the account must be on Welcome Unlimited and are eligible only for select promotions. Includes domestic talk, text, and data usage only. Data roaming at 2G speeds.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay. Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. 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 Reese's.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live and live in color on a Friday edition. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and at Lakeena_McGee on the IG.
And we have less than 90 minutes of this extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. And don't forget, you can also now catch Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. Lakeena, let's talk about baseball. We'll start out with those sad-ass Chicago White Sox. They're now 63-62 on the year, losing 2 or 3 to the Baltimore Orioles, including a heartbreaker last night, 43 in 11 innings, thanks to Anthony Santander and Kyle Stowers tying the game with his first career home run in the 9th inning. But before then, Lakeena, Adam Engel playing left field in place of Eloy Jimenez. It was an 0-2 pitch. Liam Hendricks looks like he was going to get a rare 1-2-3 ninth. And guess what happened? He pulled the Brant Brown. For those of you who don't know, Brant Brown was an outfielder for the Cubs in 1998. Exactly.
He dropped the ball. He dropped the ball, as the fans say. Yeah, he dropped the ball, as the late great Ron Santos said. In that game. And look, I think again this is a missed opportunity for the White Sox, and because Cleveland didn't play yesterday. It's one of those things where it's sort of like I don't know. I mean, this is sort of like I know people were debating on Twitter, was this one of the worst losses of the season for the White Sox? I mean, there have been some bad losses. This is definitely right there in the team picture. I mean, you
yes,
give
it's
up
in the team picture. Can I give you Baltimore when they were here in June? Can I give you Texas, especially that Saturday game when they the first time they fired Tony? Can I give you that?
Well,
Can I give you the Yankees game here in Chicago back in May? Go on.
Well, I mean, Stowers, of course, that was his first home run. He's the first Oriole to do that. A game tire in the ninth or later. Says you got to go back to 1973 with Rich Coggins. So, and I'm sure once and when Hendricks, first pitched that ball to Stowers and Stowers hit it, he knew that was gone. So that was another thing. And then an angle drop and to other things. I mean, look, this is again, we've been having this conversation for the last 4 months. This is a microcosm of the White Sox season, whether it's not hitting, not taking advantage of hits, or not being more aggressive, fielding errors, dropping balls, simple sac flies. This is sort of like a microcosm of what this season is for the White Sox. And our buddy Sean Davis put it out on Twitter. He retweeted a tweet from last night. He said, "Don't give the White Sox your energy." Okay. That's what I'm okay. Fine with me. I'm not doing it because it's always something, whether it's injuries, whether it's all this other stuff that happened. That whole game was sort of like just a little taste of what it's been for all season for the White Sox.
After all this, Lakeena, as you mentioned, Cleveland and Minnesota both lost yesterday. You didn't gain ground. They're technically still in this thing, Lakeena. That's what's so mind-boggling about this. But we'll see what happens. Does the White Sox have the next 9 games on the South side? We'll see what happens. You have Arizona this weekend. You have Kansas City next Tuesday. And then you have Minnesota next weekend for Labor Day weekend. But going back to yesterday's game, I told you Lance Lynn needs to have a Jose Contreras type second half. Is outside that bad start against Oakland early in the second half of the season. He's actually been pitching pretty well. He had a very good game last night. If it wasn't for that Adam Engel missed catch, he would have gotten the win. Lance Lynn did not deserve a loss last night. You saw in his last start against Cleveland, of course, the bullpen gave it up in that start against Tristan McKenzie at Cleveland last Friday. So Lance Lynn has been pitching pretty well in the second half of the White Sox, but once again, something that he cannot control has let him down. Now, the only victory that the White Sox got in this series against Baltimore, 12 hits, Lakeena. That's what we expect this team to do, but it's all singles. I know many people are upset with this, including yours truly, but as we said before, and I said it first, we have a team that's built station to station. This is what happens. And whatever the hitting approach is, it's not working. But even they told this team like they did last year to hit home runs. When you don't hit home runs, you hit singles. This is what happens when you have a station-to-station team.
Well, it's sort of one of those things where you're kind of like they don't take advantage of those singles. And, someone making jokes about singles night. Well, you know what? This team does not deserve to make the playoffs. They don't. I said what I said. I'm going to put it out there, too. I don't want this team. Yes, I know Tim Anderson will be back in a couple of weeks and such. I know Cleveland lost their opener against the Mariners and such. The Twins lost 2. They've lost 6 in a row. You're 4 games back. You're still in it. Okay, yippee, whatever. You play a Diamondbacks team that's not very good. You should be able to gain ground. But look, we know how this team does against teams that are not very good. So it's sort of like I'm tired of having this conversation. I really am. I don't want to talk about this. I want to move on because I am sick of it. I'm not like Carmen DeFalco said on ESPN 1000 yesterday. Don't give them your energy. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm done with this team until you prove me otherwise. I want to move on. Let's talk about the Cubs because unfortunately the Cubs lost a chance to win their series. They went 2 of the 5 games because one of them was a makeup game, but unfortunately they did not. Stroman had a nice outing, but just that the hitting just didn't show for the Cubs. Yesterday, they lost 8-3 and whatnot. But I think the Cubs are kind of short. They're 54 right now. The Cubs are, and the Cubs have shown that they're actually a good team. They actually are a fight. You got some players on there, of course. Christopher Morel, Nico Horner, and unfortunately, Kyle Hendricks, I should say, will be gone. It's gone for the year. But he seems excited about what maybe the future is for this team. So the talent is there, but they just need like a little bit more. And I think Jeff Lloyd needs to figure out what's he going to do for next year.
Yeah, as we said before, Lakeena, the Cubs are just like the White Sox. They have money. The question is, are they going to spend it? And if they're going to spend it, are they going to spend it wisely? They have some young pieces on this team, Lakeena. Are all of them going to be here when the Cubs finally turn it around? Hopefully. No, they're not. But you still have some young pieces in Christopher Morel. Marcus Stroman, I know he didn't have his best start yesterday, but he could be that veteran piece that can steer this young Cubs starting rotation into the future. Like you said, Kyle Hendricks is there as well. But this Cubs team plays hard, as we said time and time again. You give manager David Ross credit for that. Should he have the opportunity to manage a winning team again? Hopefully, if Jed Hoyer does what he's supposed to do this offseason and field a better team than this, yes. Remember, David Ross put the Cubs in the playoffs in 2020 in that short COVID season. It was the last legs of Javi Baez, Anthony Rizzo, and Chris Bryant. But give David Ross credit. He has those guys motivated every day. Yes, it's easy to play loose as they do because the pressures of them, they're not in the pennant race like the Sox. But you start to see the fundamentals of these guys come to fruition on the field. You see the attitude is upbeat, and there's no loafing around. And that's you like to establish that culture within a team that's trying to build something special.
Yeah, and it really
obviously they're long ways away from build something special,
right.
But you got to start from the ground up.
You got to start somewhere, and I think that's what they're trying to do. I mean, look, they're gonna be fit. They're one of those teams that are gonna be fit for a lot of teams. They still got to play the Cardinals multiple times. They got to play the Brewers again multiple times. So these last 6 weeks of the season. So I think if you're the Cubs, I think you want to try to like maybe give you a little bit of sort of wiggle room for next year and see what you have and get people excited about what's going to happen. So
and play spoiler too.
Yeah, you can. Like I said, they do play a lot of the. Like I said, like we're gonna say, they do play a lot of the contenders in these next few weeks. So they play the Brewers again starting tonight. So they can play spoiler for some of these teams. And I think if you're a Brewers team or a Cardinals team and such, you're trying to make the playoffs. I know they played Toronto a few times too. They played Toronto on Monday. So starting Monday, some other stuff there, but they could definitely play spoiler. I know they got the Mets and such. I know the Phillies too. So they could play spoiler for some of these teams. And I think if you're one of those teams, don't take the Cubs lightly or any other teams lightly. So I think if you're a Cubs fan, you should be feeling. I know a lot of folks have felt ambivalent about this team, but you should be encouraged by what you're seeing.
Yes, and this playing those teams that you mentioned going into the month of September, it's in the way this team is playing. It should make you feel good if you're a Cubs fan. Obviously, not the way the season's gone, but if they continue to play hard from now to the end of the season, it gives you another stepping stone going into next year. Like I said before, it's up to Jed Hoyer and the rest of the managers to see what they can do for next year, because you have some of the young pieces there. You have the attitude there. You just got to bring on the veterans to make this more competitive, because we'll get into the rest of the division and league in a minute. But with those teams that you mentioned that they're playing, a couple of those teams are in free fall, and we'll get to one of them in a minute. But the Cubs, as I said, they could play spoiler to at least a couple of those teams, and they'll definitely give you confidence going into next year.
If they can get to like 65, maybe close to 70, I think that's pretty good considering that where they were earlier in the season. People were already kind of like, whatever. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as they finish up their season. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Sidney Brown, talking baseball with you and whatnot. Now, speaking of those teams in free fall, if you will, Sid, and I think I know where you're going at with some of these teams. And it's interesting you mentioned that that team in free fall, the team in question, because I think for me, this it's going to be interesting because I feel like we're going to the time of year where folks, you're playing, there's about 35, 36 games left, depending on, there might be some, weather delays and such, from early in the season. But, the Rays have actually been playing very well lately. They've won 6 in a row. It looks like the Yankees are starting to kind of get back on track a little bit. Toronto is right there too. They've won 7 of their last 10. So
But they beat the crap out of Boston. Whew.
yes, they did. I know they stole something, but Baltimore is still right there in that for that wild card too. So it's still a lot of bit of a kind of like a fight here at this point. And I think on the AL side, the wild card, I mean, it's getting kind of wild. I mean, I know that the Mariners are leading right now. Baltimore's right there, 2.5 back. I know Twins and the Sox, you want to say, okay, they're 5 back, but they really aren't a factor here. I think it's going to be between those 4 teams for those 3 wild card spots. But I think for me, I think in the AL, I think that's the race I'm looking at is that AL wild card.
Yeah, the AL wild card is getting congestion. As I said before, Lakeena, maybe all 3 of those spots will come out of the AL East. I think you can count out Boston, especially at the last 2 games I saw in that series against Toronto. I think it's safe to say to count out Boston, but Toronto's going to be right there. Tampa, which is a team I really respect, Lakeena. I wish the White Sox played like them. They don't have any big boppers in their lineup, but they play fundamentally sound baseball. They have a good solid rotation, and their bullpen is one of the best, is underrated in the league. And like you said, that's why they have that 6-game winning streak. Baltimore, they just don't have the starting pitching. Even they do squeak into the playoffs, their starting pitching will get exposed. But that's okay. That's why I think they'll make some moves in that during the offseason to help them go into next year. What Baltimore is doing now is going to help them into next year. Now,
they've already passed their winning percentage. So
exactly.
It's
Now, going back to what we were talking about the Cubs, one of the teams they're going to face, which they're in free fall, but technically they're still in the race, is the Milwaukee Brewers. Remember, their bullpen was struggling prior to the All-Star break. Josh Hader was traded from Milwaukee to San Diego. The office has gone in the tank.
Yes.
I know they lost 2-3 to the Dodgers earlier this week, but I don't think they're going to get back in the race against the Cardinals. That's the Cardinals' division to lose, and the Cardinals should cruise to win this year's NL Central, unlike a year ago. But the Cardinals, I think they have a grip over this NL Central now.
Yeah, well, speaking of the Cardinals, yesterday the Cubs honored Yadier Molina and, of course, Albert Pujols. And there was this thing about, of course, Cubs fans were kind of like miffed because you can honor 2 of your rivals, but yet you don't want to bring back Sammy Sosa. So I don't know, like maybe, like I said, kill him with kindness, I guess. I don't know. But, of course, look, it's Pujols is his last season. So,
congrats to Pujols hitting 693 on Tuesday.
Yes, he did. So, so congrats. I was actually going to mention that, but so it's going to be interesting to see. I know Cubs fans are a little bit miffed by that, the fact that, oh my God, how dare you honor like your rivals? But look, I mean, they've really, yes, Molina and Pujols have broken Cubs' hearts, but they've worked, the Cubs were able to kind of done the same thing to them. So it kind of evens it out, I think.
Yeah. For them not honoring Sammy Sosa, blame the Ricketts for that. As long as they own the team, that's not going to happen. So that issue right now is put to bed. So that was a respectable, nice gesture what the Cubs did. So I don't have a problem with that. But going back to the National League, Lakeena, the New York Mets, I know they got swept in a 2-game series in a Subway Series against the New York Yankees, but they bounced back with a big 3-1 win against Colorado last night. I had a chance to watch that one in its entirety. Jacob deGrom, 6 innings pitched, gave up 1 run, struck out 9. He was amazing. The Mets just had enough offense to get by Colorado 3-1. Pete Alonso, the Big Panda, did it again with a big home run. Colorado, I was watching the SNY Mets broadcast, and they brought up a stat last night. The Colorado Rockies, even though they're terrible this year, I think with the loss last night, I believe they're now 3 games above 500 on the road, but they're terrible on home. Remember doing those first few years, Lakeena? That was the opposite.
Yep. Yeah.
They were great at home and terrible on the road. It's opposite this year.
Yeah.
Times have changed.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's sort of like it's interesting that you say that, because it's sort of one of those things where you're kind of like, oh, I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, I mean, the inconsistency, I think, that's not good if you're trying to make the playoffs, because you have to be good, just as good on the road as you are at home, and vice versa. So that's going to be kind of like the thing. And if they do get in, that's going to be an issue. They're going to have to clean that up. So we'll see if they can figure it out. Now, as far as the National League wild card, I mean, it's a little less congested like the AL, but you still got, of course, Atlanta's like running away and hiding in the top spot there. For the Phillies are right there at 2.5 back in front. Then they got the Padres. They're starting to kind of they've been up and down too since all those trades.
Yeah, they got swept by Cleveland at home.
Yeah, and the Brewers are right there too. So I don't know what the Giants. I think it's just too many games for the Giants to make up. So I think you can kind of count them out. So again, it's probably going to be between those 4 teams I mentioned. It looks like Atlanta will make it. As long as the Phillies don't, it looks like Bryce Harper will be back soon. Thank goodness, because they're going to really need him. They're going to try to
tonight. He'll be back tonight.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if hopefully it might take him a couple of games to kind of get back into a groove. So. But boy, they've been a perfect time for him to come back. The Padres, they've been kind of inconsistent with all the trades. So yeah, I hope they can kind of get into it. So it's probably good between those. I'll leave the Braves out of it because I think they're well ahead unless they go into like a total tailspin those last 6 weeks. I'll say it's between the Phillies, the Padres, and the Brewers.
Yeah, I agree. The Brewers may be the team that's left out at the end here. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, their offense, they could barely score runs. Their bullpen has been terrible. Their starting rotation has been okay, but it's only been you can only have good starting pitchers so long with the lack of run support, and that's going to kill you eventually at the end of the offense doesn't start to turn around. Lakeena, I want to ask you this question, as well as our viewers and listeners. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube to type in your answers for this question. Who do you believe right now on August 26th is the best team in the National League, the Mets or the Los Angeles Dodgers?
Well, they've been I think it's the Dodgers because they're the reigning champs in that they're not the reigning champs, but they're sort of like right there. So unless someone knocks them out, they've got one of the best records in the league. So till somebody knocks them out, I think they're running away and hiding in their division. So I think right now you got to give it to the Dodgers, despite all the injuries. I know Walker Buehler's done for the year, so that's going to be a yes. And yeah, they've kind of benefited from an easy schedule. They play the Marlins again. Starting tonight in this time down in Florida, so that's sort of like a thing. But look, they can't control who they play against, and they can't help it if the Brewers are kind of like a free fall. Being them 2 out of 3 this week. So yeah, it's sort of one of those things where you're kind of like, oh, okay. I think the Dodgers just because they had the better record. Now, the Mets, I think they still got a lot to prove. So we'll see what happens.
I say the New York Mets because they're playing with passion. They're playing with an extra edge this year. And yes, there's pressure on them, but they welcome the pressure. And that's why you have a veteran manager in Buck Showalter to help got this young veteran group along. Of course, Francisco Lindor is having a sort of a bounce back year. You have Pete Alonso still doing this thing with a big bat. You also have Taijuan Walker, who's been injured lately, but he's back in the rotation now. Jacob deGrom is looking strong ever since he's returned from injury. You don't forget you have the closer Edwin Diaz as well. So just about every button Buck Showalter has pushed. Every button he's pushed is worked out for them so far. Yes, they had a hiccup against the Yankees earlier this week, but this team can bounce back in a hurry. I think that victory over Colorado last night was huge. So it's not just about turning it around on the field, but it's turning around mentally. This Mets team has been challenged by injuries too this season, Lakeena. Yes, I know what they did to Atlanta a few weeks ago and vice versa, but in my opinion, they've been the best team in the National League since day one.
Gotta do it in the playoffs.
I know they got to prove it in the playoffs, but like I said, right now, the Mets are the best team in the National League. I know the Dodgers been there and done that, but the Dodgers, their starting pitcher is going to get challenged now. As you mentioned, Walker Buehler is out for the year. Clayton Kershaw, he better not get hurt again because if he does, it's really over.
Look, I mean, the bats are probably going to pick up the slack then. Of course, Freddie Freeman, what's he done? Max Muncy, I should say, Trey Turner.
He's starting to turn it around now.
Yeah, Mookie Betts and so yeah. So I'm in proven mode with the Mets. Prove it to me you can do it in the playoffs. That's my. Yeah. I'm not gonna look. You're not gonna change my mind on that, Sid. I'm sorry. Like I know you've been look. You've been lying for the Mets all season. And look, I like what they're doing, but you have to do it in the playoffs. Because the Dodgers went through it. So the first couple of years they went to their little run that they're in now. Mm-hmm. They didn't do well in the playoffs, and look what happened. So do it in the playoffs. Then you'll make a believer out of people like me. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sidney Brown, Lakeena McGee, talking some baseball here. Go ahead, Sid. I'm sorry. What, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, hopefully the Mets and the Dodgers will meet up in this year's NLCS. We'll definitely get to sell this beef by then.
That'll get some big, that'll get some big ratings there. Also want to give a shout out to Julio, our buddy Julio Rodriguez from the Mariners. He hit his 20th home run earlier this week, becoming one of the fastest players since 1900 to reach the 20 career home run milestone, and also 20 stolen bases as well. He had a stolen base that game to his 107th game, only trailing only the person to do it even faster in the fewest games. Unfortunately, he's suspended right now, Fernando Tatis Jr. So, and unfortunately, that we won't go into that one. We already talked about that ad nauseum. But so just want to give a little bit of a shout out.
He's about to get a contract extension too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Seattle is going to open up the checkbook. I'm sure they will. They'll they know that he's the reason why this team. Well, one of the reasons that they got a lot of great young players there, but he's one of the reasons why that team is where they're at right now on the cusp of making the playoffs. For the first time in forever, it seems. So
about 21 years. Yep.
Well, I wasn't trying to be literal. I wasn't being literal, Sid. I was being facetious, Sid.
Okay.
This is what I say. I'm kidding, but yeah. So so just want to give that out here, but want to go through this get some schedule real quick.
Yes.
Okay, you got the Dodgers and the Marlins, of course. They're kicking off their series. Cincy and Washington. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. If you're Philadelphia, you want to stay right there in that second place in the wild card spot in the National League. Of course, you got the Angels and Toronto. Toronto trying to hang on there in the AL wild card. Colorado and the Mets. And the first game of the Apple TV Plus doubleheader, you got Tampa and Boston. So I know Boston is so they're I think they're done. It's safe to say. Detroit and Texas. Arizona and the White Sox, of course, you better hope the White Sox is your chance to try to make up some ground, if you will. So, I like I said, if you can't sweep Arizona, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm sorry, but they'll probably win 2 out of 3, knowing this team, just because they're and Baltimore and Houston. Baltimore trying to stay right there in the AL wild card, and also Houston trying to clinch with the Yankees and kind of like they're free for. They're trying to get that top record in the AL.
All right, in your national television schedule for this weekend, Fox Saturday Baseball, your game of the week, it will feature the Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals, or the San Francisco Giants and the Minnesota Twins at 6:15 Chicago time. And so we say in the broadcasting business, check your local listings for the game and time in your area. On FS1 tomorrow night, it will be Cleveland at Seattle. And for the Peacock game at Sunday morning at 11 o'clock a.m. Chicago time will be the Dodgers at the Marlins. And then Sunday night baseball will feature the Braves and the Cardinals on ESPN at 6 p.m. Chicago time.
Just real quick, Cleveland and Seattle. That's part of the second game of tonight's doubleheader on Apple TV Plus, I should say, at 9:10. So for those of you who are in Cleveland and Seattle, hoping to get the start of the continuation of that series, you're gonna have to go on Apple TV Plus. Sorry.
Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports continues as we kick off hour number 2 with Mr. Jeff Lloyd, the co-host of the Locked On Browns podcast. He'll hop on with us to preview the AFC North and the Cleveland Browns, who play our Chicago Bears tomorrow night in the preseason finale. And we'll have a whole lot more with College Football Week 0 kicking off tomorrow and other sports media nuggets. Along with Miss Lakeena McGee, I'm Sidney Brown. You're listening to Second City Sports live in living color, the Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. Light day around baseball today. Cleveland at Detroit. The White Sox visit Kansas City. The Cardinals are at Denver. The Astros host the Rangers. The Red Sox at home against the Orioles. The Cubs take on the Reds in the Field of Dreams game in Dyersville, Iowa. The NFL preseason kicks into high gear this week. Tonight, the Giants visit the Patriots while the Titans head to Baltimore. Tomorrow, the Falcons visit the Lions. The Browns are at Jacksonville. The Jets visit the Eagles. The Cardinals at Cincinnati. The Packers are on the road at San Francisco on Saturday. Carolina at Washington. Kansas City at Chicago. The Bills host the Colts. The Bills, the current favorite to win the Super Bowl. The Seahawks visit the Steelers. It'll be the Dolphins at Tampa. The Texans hosting the Saints. The defending Super Bowl champion Rams battle the Chargers at SoFi Stadium. Denver at home against the Cowboys, while the Raiders host the Vikings. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
With our newest unlimited plan, everyone's welcome. Introducing Welcome Unlimited from Verizon for just $30 a line per month for 4 lines with autopay plus taxes and fees. Our best priced unlimited plan ever.
Did he say $30?
Yep, $30 a line for the whole family. The network you want, the price you love. Switch to Verizon today. Paper-free billing required. Unlimited 5G nationwide 4G LTE. In times of congestion, your data may be temporarily slower than other traffic. All smartphone lines on the account must be on Welcome Unlimited and are eligible only for select promotions. Includes domestic talk, text, and data usage only. Data roaming at 2G speeds.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay. Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. 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 Reese's.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports. We're live in living color on the Friday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I'm Sidney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and at Lakeena_McGee on the IG.
We have less than an hour left for this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, especially for our next guest, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But before we kick off hour number 2, we must give you a quick friendly reminder that you can now catch Sports Zone Chicago also on Roku TV. If you don't have a Roku TV, you still catch Sports Zone Chicago on your streaming device. Just download the Roku TV app and you download Sports Zone Chicago that way. If you already have a Roku TV, just tap into the sports folder and download Sports Zone Chicago that way. You can get with the program and celebrate with the squad. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. You can watch us live and on demand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. Now let's kick off our number 2 of this fabulous program by previewing the AFC North and also talking Cleveland Browns football. We're going to bring on a first-time guest. His name is Mr. Jeff Lloyd. He's the co-host of the Locked On Browns podcast. You can download that podcast wherever you get your podcast, and you can watch it right here on YouTube. Just type in Locked On Browns in that search engine box. You can find Jeff on Twitter at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Once again, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Jeff, welcome to our program. How are you?
We're good, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Weekend coming, 2 weeks away from football starting. It's time. Summer's over. Let's go.
Yeah.
Talking some football. Ready to talk some football, and Jeff is ready. So let's get to it.
Yeah, Jeff, let's start off with Deshaun Watson. Of course, the whole interview won't be about him, but we must ask you this question because he's been the topic of news all off season. Of course, the suspension is now final. He won't return until week 13. I want to ask you a 2-part question. What's been the fan reaction ever since the suspension was announced last week? And number 2, how can the Cleveland Browns organization what's their message to the fans this season? Hopefully they can still turn out to attend their games.
I think the initial reaction, I mean, I'm sure everybody had some, part of them that was maybe a little upset. And I think the thing was they were bringing in a player where they didn't necessarily know what the disciplinary action was going to be. So it was that, I think, was the part that was probably difficult for a lot of fans. There's some that you just generally aggravated and agitated, just PO'd, and understandably so. I mean, you can't, we've tried to be, with the focus of, we can't tell anybody how to fan. So if it got you to the point where you were just aggravated, didn't want to follow this team anymore, I mean, it's your God-given right. But I think, there's a lot of fans that, don't necessarily need sports to be the moral compass of their life. It's an escape. It's something they do, whether it's, 3 or 4 days a week for some sports teams, or 3 hours, a week on Sunday when your NFL team plays. As far as, the message, I think, the franchise has given the fan base is, is, look, we were a really good team before this. Last year, we had issues with the quarterback. Our quarterback was injured, didn't play well. But this team has a fantastic defense. This team has a really good offensive line. This team probably has the best running back room in the entire NFL. And they're built with good people in the community, just general good people. So I think what they're trying to say is, this team is not defined by one individual. Players like Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, they've been here for a long time. They've proven to be good players, good citizens. Whatever the organization asks of them, they do. Basically, just don't, judge, the entire group of players by the actions of one, and especially one who hasn't even played it down for this team yet.
Now, with of course the Watson suspension, who do you think has the edge of getting the starting job? You got Brissett, you got Dobbs, you got Rosen. All three have been in the NFL. All of them, have had their not successes much, but sort of like they know what to do in these type of situations. Who do you think has the edge there?
This is Jacoby Brissett's team for the first 11 games. If everything goes the way the Browns have planned. One of the reasons they like Jacoby Brissett is a 1.2 interception rate. He does not turn the ball over. When you're going to put somebody out there who's not your top quarterback, you're, at least, hey, you don't have to be Deshaun Watson, but please don't be the reason that we lose football games. We'll get to see the first of Jacoby Brissett in live action Saturday night. We're not sure how much he's going to play, but it's obviously a new system, a new team for Jacoby Brissett. Amari Cooper is a player he's never worked with. He's never worked with his tight ends. He's never worked with his running backs. The Browns have a favorable schedule to start the season. So, hopefully, they can get through some growing pains early while still being in games that they should probably on paper win. Jacoby Brissett's been in this league for a long time. He's done it in Indianapolis. He's played in Miami. He's played here now. He'll play here now with the Browns. For the last 2 weeks, the Browns made the shift and made him quarterback one as far as, joint practices, as far as, practices, getting him all the work he needs. The reviews have been positive, and I think with Jacoby Brissett, this is a guy that's always understood he's never essentially been the man. Anytime he's actually been the guy who plays, he's essentially a placeholder for somebody else. It's not a first time for him. He's been down this road before, and I think he has the advantage now of, for the 11 weeks that he quarterbacks this Cleveland Browns team, he will never have been, quarterbacking a team with the overall talent that this one does. So for him, it's kind of simple. Just basically don't be the reason it goes wrong, or don't be the guy who screws it up.
Previewing the Cleveland Browns in the AFC North is our guest, Jeff Lloyd. He's the co-host of the Locked On Browns podcast. You're listening to Second City Sports, live in living color, the Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakeena here with you. Jeff, you mentioned Amari Cooper, who they traded for, the star wide receiver from the Dallas Cowboys in the offseason. Also, you have Jakeem Grant and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Looking at the depth chart, it's a log jam at wide receiver. Who's going to fill out those last couple of spots to help that young wide receiving core?
Well, Jakeem Grant, unfortunately, tore an Achilles, so that's a big blow for the Browns. The Browns were planning on using him as a wide receiver. Obviously, the appeal of the return game was something that really interested them. So, that was definitely, a blow for them. Donovan Peoples-Jones, look, he's had, last year he had a strong summer. He was able to put up more production in year 2 than he did in year 1. The case here again in year 3 is he's had a strong summer. You're looking hopefully for him to make that gradual jump once again. Problem with Donovan Peoples-Jones is there's times where he's kind of like a seventh player in a baseball lineup. He'll hit 25 home runs, but he'll hit like 230. There's times where he's great, and then there's times where you just don't hear much from him. David Bell out of Purdue, the rookie, missed some time in camp, missed the first preseason game. Last week, his first action, 3 receptions for 48 yards. Really, really smart route runner. Seems to catch everything that's thrown to him. The Browns really like the potential that he brings them. And Anthony Schwartz, I know a lot of fans in the Cleveland area seem to want to give up on him. The Browns have not had a stronger week 2 of preseason than he did week 1. For Anthony Schwartz, it's just putting all the facets together. Week 1, he had a couple drops, but did everything right, was wide open. Just didn't do the most simple thing of being asked of a wide receiver to physically catch the football. He is a guy they covet. I mean, it's sub 4.3 speed. You cannot change that. That exists for a reason. He is a huge, huge part of what this team wants to do. And it's not so much necessarily getting the ball in his hands, but it's just the fact that if you have 4.3 speed and you're running vertical routes, people have to pay attention to you, which should make things easier for Jacoby Brissett, should make things easier for Amari Cooper, David Njoku, anybody else out there who's running the route tree. It should make things easier. And the Browns have a lot of faith in these young guys, but in the same respect, these young guys have to basically reward that faith they're being given.
Now, you talked about the defense earlier, Jeff, and we know that there were, top five, well, overall, I guess, like, right there in the top 10. Now, the problem was the turnovers, and they were like a minus, like, 2 or 3 in turnovers last season. So, what can the Browns defense do to try to kind of improve in that part of the defensive numbers?
That's not so much necessarily on them as it certainly was on the offense. This team held the opponents 9 times under 16 points. You shouldn't end up with a record the Browns did last year if you could hold opponents under 16 points per game. There are improvements, made this year. You're going to see Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in year 2 should take a step up. Grant Delpit last year as a rookie coming off the Achilles injury was just getting his feet wet in the NFL. Went out and drafted another cornerback in Martin Emerson. That is a deep room they have with Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson, and of course AJ Green's another one. John Johnson III should be more comfortable here in year 2. He's going to be able to play his role as a safety and be versatile. Early in the season last year, they basically just had him playing on the roof, playing a deep safety, which is not what makes John Johnson a special player. Some additions, other pass rushers. They drafted Alex Wright in the 3rd round. This was a guy with a ton of potential. The question was whether or not he was going to know how to play the run, and it seems right now the defense in run stopping ability is a little ahead of the pass rush, which is okay with the Browns. That's the part they were probably more concerned about. He's looked good there. They're deep. I mean, they're going to play 20 plus guys every week on the defensive side of the ball. And it's not because of question marks. It's just the fact that everybody's got some talent. They're just going to need the offense, hopefully to, play with them. And there's going to be times the offense is going to have to make plays. You can put your defense on the spot for 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. You can't put your defense on the spot for 11 weeks and say, basically, we need you guys to get it done. Nobody can do that to any defense in the NFL. But they'll come out. They're going to be strong. They're going to be a good unit. And it's really kind of been, for me, one of the damper parts of this entire offseason is because so much attention has been put on Deshaun Watson, where, there's a lot of great players on this team, and this defense should really be talked about because the potential for this defense is to truly be special.
Back to the offense, Jeff. Of course, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb were one of the best, if not the best, running back tandem in the league. Now with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback now, how much do you think the Browns will lean on the running game, especially in the early part of this upcoming season?
This is where it gets tricky because, the Browns are known for this, and teams knew this last year, even with Baker Mayfield. They got into games where it was like, all right, well, here's 9 in the box. We know what Nick Chubb can do. We know what Kareem Hunt can do. Jacoby Brissett, and obviously, Coach Stefanski and offense coordinator Alex Van Pelt, they have to be ready for this. You're going to have to hit some throws. This is the NFL. You can't just one-trick pony your way through anything. If you run well, they're going to take it away. If you throw well, guess what? It's going to be nothing but pass rushers and defensive backs. The Browns are smart enough for this. They've been through this. I think also one of the things they're going to counteract this with is, the Browns were known for the last couple of years under Coach Stefanski for using the fullback more. It doesn't even look like they're going to keep a fullback this year. So it's going to be a lot more, one-back personnel with more wide receivers on the field, more tight ends on the field. So you can get to the line and basically you're going to have that run pass, basically audible at the line. Okay, you want to creep up? We got 4 receivers on the field. We'll just go to a pass play. You're going to sit back? Okay, then we'll do our running game. The Browns were ready for it because teams did it to them last year, knowing that Baker was having his struggles. So, obviously we're going to take away the run from them. They're ready for it. They've seen it. And the Browns are in an opportunity where you can use Chubb. You can use Hunt. You have faith in Dearness Johnson. Rookie Jerome Ford has come on faster, I think, than they even thought. And, they probably have some confidence if they want to give him a carry or two. Hope they're ready too. So just got to find a way to, keep it balanced. There's going to be some teams that no matter what they do, the Browns offensive line is going to be that good. They're not going to be able to stop the run anyway. But you got to be ready for both scenarios.
Let's talk about the AFC North as a whole. Of course, you got Pittsburgh. I don't want to say they're rebuilding, but they're kind of changed a lot of things.
They'll never tell anybody they're rebuilding, but they're
rebuilding. No, of course not. Well, yeah, that's true. And then of course, with Big Ben retiring, Juju Smith-Schuster with KC now. Then of course you got Baltimore hoping to kind of bounce back from all their injuries last year. Of course, Cincy is kind of came out of nowhere. I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but they kind of popped up and they ended up winning the division. So where do you think the Browns measure up to the other 3 teams in the AFC North?
Well, for me, there's a couple of ways of looking at this. The Pittsburgh Steelers, look, you do not know who your quarterback is. And if you drafted Kenny Pickett at 20th overall and you don't know who your quarterback is, that's certainly got to be some pause and hesitation for whatever Pittsburgh's plans are this year. Because if you're telling me a guy that you drafted at 20th overall might not start week 1 because of Mason Rudolph or Mitchell Trubisky, I mean, I'm sure you guys are well aware about how that goes. So if you tell me he's not ready to beat either of those quarterbacks out, I mean, that maybe tells me all we need to know about that. Baltimore's the wild card here. All the talent, obviously. I mean, I think the thing for me that really is just weird with Baltimore is, you lost Hollywood Brown, who went to Arizona. And to say that Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield are in the same spot right now contractually is just absolutely nuts to say. Ravens former number 1 seed going into the playoffs. Lamar Jackson, a former MVP in this league. It just seems weird that hasn't gotten done. And if your star player doesn't have his contract satisfied for any of the other 52 players in the locker room, how do you feel about where you stand with an organization, knowing that?
I think we lost Jeff with the Wi-Fi connection, so we'll try and reconnect with him. Of course, as he comes back, let's talk about the rest of the AFC North. Sid, I mean, I know that they did give up a lot of big plays last year, that Browns defense. So I think that kind of killed them, of course, especially also too with the offense and what they weren't able to do and whatnot. So I think for me, I feel like Cincy, they actually have made improvements, but you can't help but wonder, are they going to suffer the Super Bowl hangover? So that's kind of be the thing I'm wondering there. Baltimore, they've made a couple of minor moves, but their problems were more injury related. Of course, we know Lamar Jackson and, J.K. Dobbins is back. And of course, Mark Andrews kind of, came, I don't want to say he came out of nowhere because he's been around a while, but he kind of became like a star there last year too for the Ravens.
Yeah,
as well,
they had
kinda
injuries on with the running backs too last year, both of them.
Yeah, so that's going to be very interesting too as well. So I'm wondering, like with the especially on the defensive side, of course, you got Calais Campbell. Of course, you got Marcus Peters. We'll see if he can, be able to start the season. I know he's been banged up this training camp and whatnot. So they got a little mixture of sort of like older veteran guys, of guys that and such. I know they brought Kyle Fuller on too over the offseason. So yeah, I think the defense is there for Baltimore as well. I know Pittsburgh. I know that they've, Kenny Pickett has looked really good in training camp, so it might be his team now. So that might not be good if you're a Steelers fan, a rookie, but I think Baltimore. They were my pick last year, and I think I might pick Baltimore to win the division. So I don't know. I mean, Cincy, I know Cincy won last year, but I don't think they're not going to be surprised by Cincy now. They're gonna know what to get from them. So I think I believe I think this is gonna be the Ravens division. I think
it can be if first of all if health goes in their way. Unlike you said, went against them a year ago. Like you said, Lamar Jackson's a top 5 quarterback in this league. If he stays healthy, the Baltimore will have a chance to win. Like you said, Cincinnati, they took advantage last year, won the division with a 10-7 record, and made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Let's see what Jamar Chase does in year 2. Let's see if Joe Burrow can take another step, and let's see if those players are more hungry than they were a year ago when nobody expected them to do anything, Lakeena, because it's easy to get complacent and say, oh, we could just show up and do the same thing and the same thing will happen. That's not necessarily true. The late Kobe Bryant said this, and to a lesser extent, Michael Jordan said this too. You cannot do the same thing that you did in the previous season, the following season. Things change, and so you have to change up your attitude. So let's see if Cincinnati has more hunger than they did a year ago. It's easy when you're the hunters. Now you're the hunted. Yep. All the pressure's on you, and plus they have a tougher schedule. So we'll see how the Cincinnati Bengals respond. I believe they're still a good football team, but we'll see what happens now, especially now with a tougher schedule. Now with Pittsburgh, that Mike Tomlin may be doing this right. Get Kenny Pickett some experience. He's been doing well, as you mentioned, in the preseason, but we'll see how Mitchell Trubisky does in at least the first 4 or 5 games of the year. If Pittsburgh struggles to get out to a 1-3 start or perhaps a 2-4 start, you'll see Kenny Pickett in there. Like you said, Lakeena, and when Jeff joined us, hopefully he'll rejoin us if he has time to reestablish his connection. But Pittsburgh, this is a foreign territory for them. When do they admit out loud that they're rebuilding? So
never.
So we'll see how this. I think Mike Tomlin is actually playing this perfectly. We brought Trubisky as the quote unquote savior. If he doesn't get it done within the first at least 3 or 4 games, we will turn it to Kenny Pickett, and it'll be his team from here on out. Cleveland, like Jeff said, the defense is very good. We saw what they did, especially to the Bears last year, even though it's a different scenario this year, playing them tomorrow night in the preseason finale. But Jadeveon Clowney kind of had a bounce back year. Myles Garrett is the best defensive sack artist in the game next to Aaron Donald. So you're going to get from them. I'm interested to see how Cleveland will balance the running attack and how would they use Jacoby Brissett, especially in the pocket. We all know that he's just like any other mobile quarterback when you get him outside the pocket, but what can he do inside the pocket? Because these mobile quarterbacks, they do some great damage outside the pocket, but inside that pocket is going to be the real test. And we're going to watch hopefully that progression go up with our guy Justin Fields here.
It'll be interesting to see if there's going to be a lot of onus on the running game. Will Chubb and Hunt, will they get a lot of carries? Because if they want to limit the mistakes that Brissett did, we see, look, Brissett, look, he's shown that, yes, he's very formidable. He can hold down the fort and such, but he's going to have to do this for 11 games. So I'm wondering, like, and some of these quote unquote, I know Jeff said they have an easier schedule, and they have, the first 2 weeks are a little bit easy, but you don't want to say, you want to kind of use the term loosely in the NFL when it comes to, say, easy scheduling. But I wonder that our Hunt and Chubb are going to have to be kind of like, take the brunt of that so that the owners will have to be away from him so that he'll have to throw a lot. So I'm wondering, like, is the strategy is going to be like to use the run game a little bit more, and then that way Brissett won't have to, you have to depend on Brissett's arm, because he does sort of tend to make mistakes at times. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I feel like Cleveland. I know I gotta look up the over under. I know the Bovada has the over unders, for Cleveland, but I'm guessing like 8 to 9. I think that's what I read. I might be wrong on that, so you might have to double check on that for me. But that
sounds about right, especially with Deshaun Watson due back at week 13 later in the season. I know Cleveland's hope is still they'll hang around 500 until Watson returns, I believe, in week 13. Yeah, it's going to be tough at times, but can they do it? Sure they can, but they got to really lean on that defense and that running game, especially early. And you will hope Jacoby Brissett could take a step, and perhaps he'll have to put a couple of games on his back for Cleveland to win and be competitive. Because like Jeff said, we already know what they bring in the running game. Everybody's going to be prepared for that. But what will Jacoby Brissett do? Can he make that one throw that can change the course of a game for the Cleveland Browns? Can he take over a game where he has a surprising 350-yard passing day? I know that's not his game, but sometimes he's going to have to take over to help this Browns team steal a couple of games until Watson returns later on in the year.
That's probably what to do. And 8.5 is the over under there.
Yeah,
so
that sounds about right.
So I'm thinking they'll probably win about 8 or 9. I think, because I think even with the Watson suspension, I think there are people that probably thought that 8.5, maybe 9 might be sort of like the magic number for them. So now, as far as Cincy, I mean, look, their defense is still intact for the most part. Last year, I think their defense was actually really solid. I mean, they placed the franchise tag on Jesse Bates III. He kind of had a breakout year last year. But I'm wondering, though, I mean, like I said before, got Trey Hendrickson, had 14 sacks, led the team there. Also, Sam Hubbard also had 7.5 rushing the quarterback and such. But, I mean, for me, I think, it's going to be that Super Bowl hangover. We've seen it with various teams. We saw it with the Rams a few years ago. We've seen it, we've seen it for, the 49ers. I mean, every team who's been to the Super Bowl, who's lost the Super Bowl, suffers some type of hangover. Yes, I know. Yes, I get it. Cincinnati, they've improved a lot on their, they upgraded the O-line, which they really needed to desperately to keep Joe Burrow upright. That's going to be that's sort of like the number one thing that you got to do, because that's your best asset and such. But I'm thinking that, like I said, mentally, how they're going to, is Chase, are people going to be, they're going to be gunning for Chase now? Is it they're going to have 2 or 3 guys on him now? And, will he suffer kind of like that little slump and such? So I'm wondering, for Cincy, I know, Von Bell on the defensive side, of course. I know that they got a solid line. They got Lyle Collins. They upgraded that in the O-line. But again, like we've been saying, will they suffer from that hangover? So that's kind of like my sort of question mark with Cincinnati.
Yeah, like we said, Cincinnati has the talent, but how much of that hangover will they let it affect them? Because Joe Burrow, he's a big star now going into year 3. I know he missed half of his rookie year due to a torn ACL, but he bounced back last year. Had a good year, but like I said before, let's see if he can take another step. A couple other things here, Lakeena. I want to see how the defense, especially in that secondary, responds, because remember, they got torched in that second half of that Super Bowl last year, and especially with Cooper Kupp winning the MVP of the Super Bowl last year. That Cincinnati secondary gave out in the second half of that Super Bowl. And number two, can that running game improve even more? Joe Mixon had a good year last year. He had a couple of nice moments in the playoffs last year, but can they be more consistent here in 2022?
Well, yeah, and I think that's going to be the thing now. As far as Baltimore, like we were saying about Baltimore, I think health's going to be really the thing with Baltimore. I know Lamar Jackson doesn't look like they're going to be able to agree to a contract, so it's like he's going to bet on he's going to bet on himself. I know they've upgraded their O line too. They drafted a couple of O line guys, so that's going to be kind of like the thing. Keeping guys upright. I know Dobbins is slowly starting to come back, so I think losing him, I think, kind of was sort of like, I don't want to say that was a death knell because it happened so early on in training camp, but that kind of like sort of like the dominoes fell right after that. Other guys got injured. Hopefully, Marcus Peters can still do it. I know Marlon Humphrey. Like I said, I know they brought Kyle Fuller on, so they've got a young solid defense. So I think it's going to be staying healthy. Of course, we know Justin Tucker. We know what he does. But I think the key is going to be like keeping it healthy, and once they're healthy, they're actually really good. So I think that's kind of be the key for me when it comes to as far as Baltimore is concerned.
For me, for Baltimore, hopefully the contract situation with Lamar Jackson will be settled one way or the other. Hopefully, it's not a distraction as the season gets going here in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, it's not this distraction. I just want to see this team get healthy. We've seen what this team can do when healthy. They're one of the best teams in the league. Of course, they're carried by Lamar Jackson. But with the offense for Baltimore, especially now with their running backs back from their various injuries from a year ago, can they run the ball with some consistency? And for Lamar Jackson, can he throw the ball downfield? Who is going to be the playmakers outside of Mark Andrews, the tight end?
Yeah, that's like I said, that's another.
That's my number one question.
Right. I mean,
like you said, they have the defense, but who's going to be the playmaker outside of Mark Andrews, the tight end?
That's going to be sort of the thing. I know, Barry, Mashard Berry, I know they drafted a couple of guys too. They picked up a couple of guys. So that they're kind of primed to kind of try to get, sort of like right there. So, they're going to have, someone's got to step up besides Mark Andrews. So hopefully they can figure that out in that sense, on the passing side. Now, Pittsburgh, real quick, I know we're run up against it, but I mean, look, like I said, they'll never admit that they're rebuilding, but you still got Najee Harris, who had a really good rookie season. You got TJ Watt, Devin Bush. I mean, they got players there. It's just that the Terrell Edmonds, they picked up from Buffalo, but the talent is there. The problem is that can they mesh well, and also too they need a quarterback. So who's going to be the quarterback? That's going to be the thing with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think you're going to really this season is going to tell itself once Kenny Pickett gets in there, whenever that is. I know you still have Claypool, the third-year wide receiver, I believe, out of Michigan State. He's still there. I know they lost Juju Smith-Schuster to Kansas City. Like you said, they still have a strong running game in Harris, but you're going to see the real Pittsburgh Steelers once Kenny Pickett gets in there. I know Trubisky wants to keep his job, and rightfully so, but the moment, heaven forbid, and I do mean heaven forbid, that Trubisky gets injured, if he gets injured, or if he happens to struggle within his first 4 or 5 games of the year, Mike Thomas is going to put in Pickett in there. Once he gets in there, it's going to be his job to lose. And so I think we can't really get a hold of this Pittsburgh team until Kenny Pickett gets in there. Because like you said, they have the defense. They have a few playmakers on offense. They just need a quarterback.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be kind of like the thing there. I know the defense will keep them in it, but I think the offense is really going to be the question. So it looks like we're not going to be able to get Jeff back on. So thanks so much for Jeff for joining us today. You can check out
Jeff.
Yeah, you can definitely check out the Lockdown Browns podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube and anywhere, Google Play, whatever, wherever you get your podcast. It was a great podcast with him and Jared. They do a great job. So where can people follow him on Twitter, Sid?
At Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Once again, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd on Twitter.
All right. So We're taking a really quick break. We got a lot to do as we wrap things up. Of course, week 0 of the college football season kicks off.
I know you're excited.
I am. And with a really good matchup in the Big Ten, and also to some other matchup as well. Also to the Blackhawks officially announced their broadcast crew and other sports media news and so much more. You got the U.S. Open is about to start on Monday with one of the champions not coming. Lots of we'll get to all that too coming up next. Sidney Brown, Lakeena McGee, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We'll be right back to wrap things up.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. Light day around baseball today. Cleveland at Detroit. The White Sox visit Kansas City. The Cardinals are at Denver. The Astros host the Rangers. The Red Sox at home against the Orioles. The Cubs take on the Reds in the Field of Dreams game in Dyersville, Iowa. The NFL preseason kicks into high gear this week. Tonight, the Giants visit the Patriots while the Titans head to Baltimore. Tomorrow, the Falcons visit the Lions. The Browns are at Jacksonville. The Jets visit the Eagles. The Cardinals at Cincinnati. The Packers are on the road at San Francisco on Saturday. Carolina at Washington. Kansas City at Chicago. The Bills host the Colts. The Bills, the current favorite to win the Super Bowl. The Seahawks visit the Steelers. It'll be the Dolphins at Tampa. The Texans hosting the Saints. The defending Super Bowl champion Rams battle the Chargers at SoFi Stadium. Denver at home against the Cowboys, while the Raiders host the Vikings. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
With our newest unlimited plan, everyone's welcome. Introducing Welcome Unlimited from Verizon for just $30 a line per month for 4 lines with autopay plus taxes and fees. Our best priced unlimited plan ever.
Did he say $30?
Yep, $30 a line for the whole family. The network you want, the price you love. Switch to Verizon today. Paper-free billing required. Unlimited 5G nationwide 4G LTE. In times of congestion, your data may be temporarily slower than other traffic. All smartphone lines on the account must be on Welcome Unlimited and are eligible only for select promotions. Includes domestic talk, text, and data usage only. Data roaming at 2G speeds.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay. Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. 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 Reese's.
Those darn
Welcome
rejoins.
back. Yeah, I know those rejoins. Gotta watch out for them. Welcome back to the last segment of Second City Sports, the Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Mr. Kim McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and at Lakeena McGee on the IG.
We got less than a half hour of this extravagance. We call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Lakeena, let's get to it. Week 0 of the NCAA football 2022 season kicks off tomorrow with a great slate of games at 11:30 from Dublin, Ireland. We'll have the Nebraska Cornhuskers taking on the Northwestern Wildcats, and that game can be seen on Big Fox.
Yeah, well, so we can't say it's not a big noon Saturday game because it's
not yet.
Not at noon.
That's next week.
Not yet. That's next week. But we have Dave Revson, for the Big Ten Network, and we talked about this, of course. Northwestern, they got a really nice shot. They got a lot of great, talent coming back from last season. And of course, Nebraska, I know, they're kind of just starting over with Tyler Thompson as their new QB. And so, of course, we got the coldest Foster. I mean, like I said before, he's probably, like I said, probably like one of the best names in college football. So it'll be interesting to see. I think this game is going to be kind of like a litmus test to see. Case Thomas, I should say, is the QB there and such. But like I said, this is going to be the game where this could be. And I know Dave said this, and I agree with him that if Nebraska doesn't win this game, because it's set up there for them to win 7 or 8 games. If they don't win this game against Northwestern, it's going to be interesting to see. Jet lag. I know both the teams have been there since earlier this week. So. It's gonna be about 6 o'clock. I think like maybe 5 or 6. I think like 4 or
5:30.
Like
I think
5:30.
5:30. Yeah, 5:30 their time. Yeah,
something 5:30 there in Ireland. So that's gonna be another thing that's gonna be very interesting too. That the jet lag and such. So it'll be interesting to see how both these teams start off right off the bat.
Yeah, and also too for the Northwestern, we talked about this with Dave Rebson on our show on Monday. Go find it on YouTube or Facebook at Sports Zone Chicago. Northwestern is usually known for their running game. They'll get a couple of their stars back this year, and they usually have a strong defense. But the question is, do they have a quarterback? And we'll find that out in short order tomorrow. And as we talked about on our last episode, Lakeena, Northwestern usually when they have a bad year, they usually bounce back with a great year. And what better way to start off the season by beating Nebraska right now? Looking at the line. For entertainment purposes only, just to be safe, even though it's legal. Nebraska is favored by 11 points. If you're Northwestern, like I said, they usually have a strong defense that got to pressure that quarterback. If they could do that throughout the game, they'll have definitely have a great chance of winning. So can Nebraska beat Northwestern? Yes. Do I think it'll be a blowout? No, unless Northwestern trips over their own 2 feet, which is very possible. But I think it's going to be a much closer game than people expect.
I'm really interested to see how Dakotas Crawford, how he looks. I mean, he's a very sought after wide receiver. We talked about him, Louisiana, so we'll see how he looks. I know Northwest has a really solid veteran O line. So
did you check out his commercial the other day on social media?
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah,
he's definitely taking advantage of his name and with the NIL.
Of course, hey,
I'm
yes,
the coldest.
Small. Look, that the commercial's been shown like 5 million times at various social media outlets. So I don't blame him for taking advantage of that. Good for smart on him. Now
I'm the coldest.
Yeah, exactly. So
thank you, Mama.
Not Frost. There you go. There's another little play on words there. But yeah, I don't know. Northwestern has a really solid O line. They got a veteran O line, so that might help them a little bit to keep their QB upright, whoever he is. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But yeah, so it should be a good game on Fox at 11:30 in Dublin. So I'm sure it's going to be a lot of pomp and circumstance and stuff. So it's going to be a very interesting atmosphere for everybody, for everybody involved.
It's going to be like a national championship Super Bowl type field. So like you said, there's going to be pressure on both teams. So we'll see who can handle it the best. Another local team that's going to kick off their season Saturday, tomorrow. I'm actually wearing their shirt, but it's mostly because of the basketball team. But the Illinois Fighting Illini, Brett Bielema, your guy, Lakeena, starts off year 2 down there in Champaign. They'll face Wyoming tomorrow at 3 o'clock. You can see that game on the Big Ten Network. Do you expect Illinois to win? But you said Wyoming's not a bad team, so it looks like it's going to be another tough opener for the Fighting Illini, even though it's at home.
Yeah, Tommy DeVito, they named their QB for the Illini, I mean, and also too, Wyoming, they had a 7-6 season. They won their bowl game last year, and look, they've got a really solid running attack. So, and look, but Illinois was close to winning a few games last year, like our buddy Dave Rebson said. So it's going to be an interesting game here, but it'll be at 3 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. And this is going to be a very interesting matchup too. And look, these are the kind of games that Illinois kind of got away last year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Now, Florida State, this is the ACC Network game. They host Duquesne. So they're FCS team Duquesne is. So hopefully they can, they've had a very disappointing season last year. They're unranked for the first time, since the early 70s. I think long before Bobby Bowden even got there. So I'm wondering, hopefully they can kind of start off right, by winning. And they should be able to win this game easily against Duquesne, but you never know. But it'll be, interesting. You can check that game out on the ACC Network.
Speaking of the ACC Network, their primetime game tomorrow night at 7:15 Chicago time will feature the North Carolina Tar Heels hosting the HBCU school, Florida A&M.
You get a nice little check there. I'm sure Mac Brown will make sure his guys, they were kind of disappointing last year. I know that there was a lot of expectations for the Tar Heels, and injuries, and I think they bleed their own hype. And I think even Matt Brown even admitted that. So we'll see if they can bounce back. They should be able to bounce back again against FAMU.
Back to the Illinois-Wyoming game for just a moment. Lakeena, Illinois right now is favored by 14.
Okay. So yeah. So take the under if you're a gambler. So and whatnot.
You heard it here first, folks.
From and whatnot, but you never know. But yeah, Nevada, New Mexico State. That's the ESPN2 game at 9:00. Also, you got a whole Hawaii game. Also, this is actually a little early for Hawaii. 9:30. You got the Vanderbilt against Hawaii. That should be a fun one. Of course, CBS Sports Network will have their doubleheader this year. Austin P against Western Kentucky and Idaho State against UNLV.
Yep, and those.
And also UConn, of course, Jim Moore Jr. is now the coach there. He'll had his first taste of college football action in a little bit. They face Utah, a really solid Utah State team. That'll be at 3:00 on FS1. So, Connecticut and Utah getting a little bit of love. Utah State, I should say, getting a little love. So that should be a interesting matchup there.
Yeah, and I think that's it as far as the Saturday games. Yeah. So, like I said, the big schedule will come out. The big boys will play next Saturday. But I want to review just a couple. Yeah,
this Thursday actually.
This Thursday. Did you want to go over just a couple of the Thursday games? We probably won't get to it on Monday.
We won't get to it all. But yeah, you can we just do a couple.
Yeah, we'll do a couple of Thursday games September 1st. So of course, Central Michigan, Oklahoma State. That's on FS1 on Thursday at 6:00. Yeah, Ball State in Tennessee. West Virginia and number 17 ranked Pittsburgh. That's at 6:00 on ESPN on Thursday.
The backyard brawl.
Yep.
Back in the day.
Of course, Thursday, September 1st, Penn State and Purdue. That'll be on Fox at 7:00. And then, of course, locally, Eastern Illinois will travel to DeKalb to face the Northern Illinois Huskies.
A lot expected from Northern Illinois after what they did last year. So
especially in the title game. In the MEC title game.
Yeah, that's New Mexico State and Minnesota. That's at 8:00 on the Big Ten Network. Northern Arizona against Arizona State. That's going to be on the Pac-12 Network. And Cal Poly against Fresno State. That'll be on FS1. So those are your games for Thursday.
Yep, so there's your week 0 schedule in the world of college football. You're listening to Second City Sports, the Friday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live in living color. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. Lakeena, let's go over some sports media news. So, of course, Kay Adams, a Chicago girl, former NFL Network host. Now she's going to head up a new network, formerly known as Horse Racing TV, is now going to become FanDuel TV.
Yeah, I don't know if this was probably a plan, C or D for her. I think she didn't get the job over at Amazon. That was one of the main rumors that she was going to be going to Amazon, but that didn't come to fruition. So now she's going to be doing this, mostly sports betting. So I'm glad she landed on her feet. So that's really all I can say there.
Yeah, so I know they also have a couple other former ESPN anchors like Lisa Kearney on there. I know Cole Wright, who does the Marquee Sports Network for the Cubs. He's appeared on those programs before as well on FanDuel, especially during the NFL season. So they got a great people to head up their content over there. Now it's going to be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like I said, sports gambling is not an anomaly anymore. It's part of a Americana world kind of now.
It's legal in a lot of states. So I'm thinking that this is sort of one of those things. But like I said, I don't know if this is what Kay had in mind, but again, unfortunately, things happen, and such. But she should do a really nice job there. Like I said, Lisa Kearney does a great job. I've checked that out on FanDuel. She's terrific and such. And we know Cole Wright, dabbles in it too. So yeah, I think this could actually end up being good for Kay, but it is what it is. But yeah, this is gonna be an interesting thing here with a new venture especially with the NFL season coming up. But one of the reasons why the NFL is so popular is because of gambling. So they're it's more than just fantasy football, folks. Yeah, I'll say So it's good. This is sort of like looks like the NFL is finally embracing it. So
speaking of the NFL, I'll just read the headline. You'll give your commentary after this. Fox Sports 1's fall lineup taking shape with reported landing spots for Joy Taylor, Emmanuel Acho, and Jason McIntyre.
So they're going to be doing a new sort of like
football eccentric show. It looks like it's going to be featuring Joy Taylor and
So they're doing like
Emmanuel Acho. Yeah, and of course,
so
go
it's
ahead.
not gonna be like speak for yourself or
Yeah.
you know, and that kind of thing. Oh, it's just for like all football. Okay, I can get that.
Yep. And of course, Craig Carton, the
Mhm.
afternoon host at WFAN New York, he's going to have his new morning show. Looks like that's going to replace First Things First. Of course, Jenna
Yeah.
Wolf announced that she was going to be doing other things. And so, where does that leave? Chris Broussard is still going to be doing the Odd Couple on Fox Sports Radio.
Yeah.
He's still going to be appearing on other shows as an NBA analyst during the season. But where does that leave Nick Wright? I know you have your issues with them as far as the Bulls of the past, but
You're
also-
not saying anything. Go keep going.
Just keeping it professional. I got you. I got you. But the Speak for Yourself crew may with Marcellus Wiley, it may feature former NFL running back LaShawn McCoy. He could join Joy Taylor and Acho to create a more football centric show as well.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, Shady McCoy. I believe he does a podcast. So I'm thinking that he could definitely. Definitely, yeah. I think he's definitely going to be like this is kind of like a forum that he might actually excel in. So I'm looking for. I might check that out. Usually, you know how I feel about some of the Fox, FS1 shows, but this might be the one thing. And I like Joy Taylor a lot too. So a sister of Jason Taylor, Hall of Famer Jason Taylor. So definitely, but she's making a name for herself too. So that's but I mean, I might check that out.
And speaking of another Hall of Fame, Lakeena, you talked about this person the last couple of years, especially in 2020, dealing with COVID and all the other issues. Jimmy Johnson will be only in studio for Fox NFL Sunday on doubleheader weekends. And so you mentioned Sean Payton will be working with Fox this year, probably until he gets that Cowboys job or the NFL head coaching job. But Jimmy Johnson, we all know he's from Arkansas. He lives in the Florida Keys during the off season. It looks like Lakeena, the last couple of years, he really enjoying staying in the Keys. He don't have to fly every week to LA to do the show. So on doubleheader Sundays, you'll see Jimmy Johnson in that studio. Non-doubleheader weeks, he'll be in the Keys chilling.
Yeah,
via satellite / Zoom.
Yeah, I think he's being smart here. Look, you still got COVID running around, and plus he's almost 80. He just turned 79, so. He doesn't want to travel. That's a lot, to do. So I don't blame him for not wanting to limit his travel. I think again, if he does get the Cowboy job, I'm talking about Sean Payton, they might be grooming him to replace Jimmy. So this might be kind of like a transition thing. Again, I don't know anything, but this might be kind of like what Fox is hoping to accomplish with Sean Payton being part of the team this year. So we'll have to wait and see.
Speaking of Fox, Tom Brady will be doing Fox whenever he retires. It'll probably be after the season if you have a safe bet. But Tom Brady, who will be playing in the preseason finale tomorrow night, rumors were circling around the internet over the last few days to seeing why Tom Brady had this quote unquote excused absence from training camp. The story has it that he filmed a couple of episodes of the Fox's reality TV show, The Masked Singer. One, I know the premise of that show. I haven't watched the full episode from front to back. But one, have you seen this show? And number two, what do you think about all this foolishness?
I know Mark Sanchez has been on that show. I know a couple other athletes have been on there. So I'm trying to think who else has been on there. I think one of the former NBA players, I forgot who, he appeared on that show as well. So would it surprise me if we find out in a couple of months that Tom Brady, that's where he went? Maybe. I know some people said that he and Giselle are having issues. They've kiboshed that. I know his mom, has had some various health issues. He said his mom's fine. I think even his dad said that, that's not the case either. So could it be that maybe he is going to be appearing on The Masked Singer? I mean, look, you're Tom Brady. You can do what you want. And plus he's in a contract with Fox. It's sort of like one of those things. Right. Maybe this is part of the Fox contract. He has to appear on one of their shows. So, I've never pictured him as a singer, but we've seen weirder things happen. So again, I would be surprised if in about a couple of months. I know Nick Cannon hasn't said anything. I know people have asked Nick Cannon about it. He's not saying anything. So
I was gonna say something about Nick Cannon, but I'll take your route, take the high road.
I'll say don't you.
If you don't know what we're talking about, as Lakeena would say, Google's your friend. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, Google's your friend. Absolutely. So yeah. So we'll wait and see if we, like I said, we'll wait and see. I know the new season starts, I think, like in a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So
if that's like I say, if that's true that Tom Brady was filming some episodes of The Masked Singer, I guarantee you, just because of his name, they'll be the highest rated episodes ever for that franchise. I promise you that.
Well, and also too, I guess Julian Edelman, kind of confirmed it too. He kind of spilled the tea and kind of like let it slip that yeah, he is going to be there. So Brady's not saying anything, which is probably smart on his part, but we'll be.
I gotta get ready for his season, so that'll be his out.
Yeah, so hey, look, I ain't saying I don't know what y'all talking about, but okay.
Right. You're listening
to be continued. Sorry.
Exactly. You're listening to Second City Sports. We're live in Live in Color on the Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakeena here with you. Continue with our NFL TV theme. This is from folks at Amazon via awfulannouncing.com. TikTok has spoken. Y'all know you're not on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok either. We don't give a damn about TikTok. But the headline says that the NFL, this is according to folks on TikTok, using air quotes here, the NFL on CBS theme rocks, ESPN's Monday Night Football and NFL Network themes stink.
This is according to the TikTok. That's an
right.
poll, I guess.
Take it with a grain of salt, folks.
Yeah, a very unscientific polling there with
exactly
with TikTok users. But I mean, we'll probably go more into it, one day. But what's your favorite NFL opening theme?
Still the NFL on Fox. I know they modified it a little bit over the years, but I still like that song because it gets you hyped up, ready to go to watch the big game. Of course, they had that attitude with the young attitude and the fiery personalities when they first started back in '94. They still have that attitude now with their pregame shows with the loose cannons of personalities that they have out there doing the pregame shows. But that theme song that still gets me going. And I don't know about you, Lakeena. I know you're a soap opera queen, but you remember the old NFL on NBC theme during the late 90s before they got booted out?
Yes.
How in the hell someone can let that theme song get passed? That sounds like an old school soap opera. That doesn't make any sense. Now, the old school NFL on CBS theme, I can get with that. But that old Sunday afternoon NFL and NBC theme song from the late 90s, that was trash.
Yeah, that was a little bit. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that one either. But that was like, let's see, like, oh god, that like, wait, I feel like I was going to the dentist's office. Like, what the?
Right.
I wasn't a fan. Don't worry, I wasn't a fan, and I am a big Toe fan, so I did not like that either. That was like, I don't know whose idea that was, but I'm glad they got rid of that. I got to get rid of that. But the Rise to Glory was for CBS. I mean, they kind of tried like bump it up a little bit, like it. I forgot who the rapper was. I know it was a local rapper in New York, but they had like all the NFL guys, all the AFC guys, even a couple of sprinkled the NFC guys and such, Rise to Glory, they had a little,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'll go find it. They did that for 1 year. That was like many years ago. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They've actually modified the actual like themes since then. So they've added like a couple of drum beats and such. But give me the old like Monday Night Football. With the pinball machines and such. I guess it's like me in the 80s, being an 80s kid, I guess.
Oh, this is before Hank Williams you're talking about?
Yeah, this is like pre-Hank Williams, I think ABC did this they used music for like all their sports, back then they did it for college football, college hoops, even their bowling coverage. So I like that, something like that theme. So so I like that theme too. And of course you want to go old school. I mean the NBC theme for like the 70s. Something like that. So that's a really cool theme song too. Even though it was for like 70s, had like the little like the little air, not really air because it wasn't really the air guitar wasn't around yet. It wasn't a thing in the 70s, but kind of like the little air rating there. So, but that was a really cool theme too.
If you don't know what me and Lakeena are talking about, just type in those themes on your Google machine via the YouTube, and you'll enjoy it. We promise you. We promise you. Now, before I get to our fun question from one of our good friends of the show. One more NFL note. I'm sure you saw this last night, Lakeena. Terry McCauley will serve as the Prime Video's rules analyst on the Thursday Night Football coverage.
He's very smart, and I think that's kind of like the thing that all like the networks have to have some rules analysts. So everybody, CBS has Gene Steratore.
Terrible.
Fox. Well, I mean, he's not that bad. Mike Pereira, of course, Fox, of course, he's probably the best out of that group. I forgot who. I keep forgetting.
Dean Blandino is his backup.
Yeah, and of course, Blandino is a backup too. And of course, keep forgetting who does it for ESPN because really don't see him that often. Maybe there's a reason, I guess. But but I like it. I mean, it's fun. I know Mike here. I know that was terrible. There's a reason why he's not doing it over on CBS anymore. He's actually doing some stuff for the NFL now in that one. But it's a something.
Who does it for Sunday Night Football? He's really good. His name escapes me for the moment.
I forgot. I gotta look it up right quick. But I know who you're talking about.
But he just gets in, gets out, and that's it. You're not trying to take over a whole damn show.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that too. So hold on, let me look that up real quick. Yeah, that's Terry McAuley.
It was?
Yes, I guess he's gonna be doing. Double duty. So
all right, yeah. Well, congrats to him. Congrats to him. So yeah, good for him. All right, Lakeena, let's wrap up this show with something fun. I tweeted this out early this morning. He's one of our good friends of the show. We'll have him back at some point at the end of the baseball season. His name is Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at Ecknerall23 on the Twitter and the IG. He's the co-host of the CHGO White Sox podcast with Sean Anderson. We got to get Sean Anderson on too down the road.
Yes.
And maybe surprise it with Christine, but you didn't hear that from us. But after the White Sox terrible loss last night, Herb Lawrence tweeted out a poll, which it'll be closing up tonight. By the time you guys listening back on the podcast, the poll will be over. But he tweeted out a poll of what is your favorite Janet Jackson album? Control 86, Rhythm Nation 89, Janet 93, or The Velvet Rope 1997. Since we run out of time, I'm voting for Rhythm Nation. Control is second behind that for me.
See, I would reverse that. I have Control at 89 and Rhythm Nation at number 2.
Okay.
But yeah.
Tell us why.
I think because if you want to do overall, I mean, I think both have the kind of the same amount of really good songs, and I think all of them were top 10 hits. I think I'll give it somewhere in the top 5. But yeah, I would say just because just because I think I like the songs, not really the songs better, but I think just because I feel like those songs were just a tad better written on the Control album than the Rhythm Nation album, because to me it's just as much the word, the lyrics themselves, and the music too. For me, they're both right there. So that's kind of my thing about why I put Control at number 1 and Rhythm Nation at number 2. I'll say 1 and 1A.
Okay. Yeah, but remember this before we close out. Remember this, the Control album. Remember Janet Jackson did about 2 or 3 albums before, and she was doing that cookie cutter, I call it kids music, that teen pop foolishness. And that was because of now her late father who passed. But when the Control album came out, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis wrote that material for her age. Because remember, I think she barely at that time turned 21 when that album came out. Because remember, that album was recorded in late 85 and it was released back in February or March of early of 86. So Janet was still young. And so Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis wanted to have a more of a mature approach to her because she was doing cookie cutter stuff up until that point. Of course, that album changed all of their lives, including Janet. So I get why you did it. It was written for her. She can, of course, it wasn't those songs, not just people her age could listen to, but grown folks can listen to. Grandma, grandpa, kids, teenagers, people, preteens can listen to that stuff. And I still enjoy that album too to this day. So those are fun songs and issues that everybody can relate to. You just cannot cookie cutter just one section.
Right. And I think that's sort of the cool thing about it. But
yeah.
Real quick before we go, of course, the Chicago Blackhawks have officially announced their TV and radio teams for this year. Of course, Chris Masters, of course, will be the new TV play-by-play guy, and sharing the reins as his analyst will be. I wish I had but sound, but there might be one here. Let me see if I can get through real quick, but it'll be 3-time Stanley Cup champion, of course, Patrick Sharp and Troy Murray, who for what he said that he is responding well to treatment. So far so good with him. So
that's great news.
Which is wonderful news. So I'm interested to see how they're gonna do this. Is it gonna be maybe a travel thing? I know they can't do a 3-man thing because it's very hard to do in hockey. So I'm interested to see how they're going to share this, how they're going to do this, with the two.
Right. Will it be a home and road
alternate?
split? We don't know yet.
Right. Well, it have I know, the Blackhawks may have, are they going to split the home games if they're on their home, or if they go to Canada, it's going to be Sharpie's from here. I think Sharpie still lives up there. So, I think, splits his time back and forth between here and Canada.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be is he going to do the Canadian games and such? Of course, Troy still recovering from cancer. Is his travel going to be limited? So, I don't know.
Yeah. So, congratulations to Troy Murray and the rest of the crew and Patrick Sharp for the Blackhawks for this upcoming 2022-23 season. Of course, John Weideman will return as their lead radio voice for the Blackhawks. Of course, Chris Vosters. Hopefully, we can get a couple of those gentlemen on the show. He'll be doing his first full season as the new TV voice for the Blackhawks. And Kaylee Chelios, Chris Chelios' daughter, she'll be part of the broadcast, along with our good friend of the show, Pat Boyle. He'll be returning as well.
And Kobe Cohen will be part of the content analyst. And also, for the Spanish broadcast, it'll be Miguel Esparza and Jorge Moreno. If you guys have not listened to them yet, they do a lot of Cubs games. They're going to do they've done Bears games the last couple of years. They're really good. Yeah, I know if you don't speak Spanish, but it's actually really cool and, a fun, broadcast. Even if you
definitely be checking
Spanish,
that out.
Yeah, definitely, check that out as well. But, yeah, so congrats to everybody. And I guess they're going to have various folks, sitting in with John, at various times in the radio booth. So I don't know how they're going to do that. I'm sure they're going to release, I know Adam Burrish, his name's been floating around too, as perhaps maybe one of the rotating analysts, but yeah, I don't know. Well, again, I'm sure they'll figure that out as it goes on. I'm sure they're still finalizing that part of the well.
All right, Lakeena, take us home.
Oh, also too, a real quick note for the U.S. Open. Of course, Serena Williams, I should say, will be in prime time. She'll be playing her first round match in prime time. Of course, it's her last Grand Slam, she said. So we'll see if she can do a Jimmy Connors inspired run. And also Novak Djokovic, who is a 4-time champion over there, because he's not vaccinated. Of course, they still have that rule where you got to be vaccinated. Everyone has to be vaccinated. That's the players, coaches, and even the media people. He's not gonna, he released a statement so he's not gonna be able to participate. So, over there on the men's side. Yeah.
Speaking of Serena Williams, you're talking about the Jimmy Connors tribute. Hopefully, she doesn't swear like a sailor.
Hopefully, she keeps her cool. I'm sure she's done with that. She's admitted she's doing better with that lately. So hopefully she'll continue that.
Yeah, because I remember watching as a child. Of course, they had a second 2-minute rule on television with a 2-minute delay. Jimmy Connors and John McEnroe, they swore like sailors. Good grief! I'll leave it at that.
Well, yeah, just imagine they had live mics back then. That's why they have the 2-minute rule now. But with that said, you can follow me at Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and at Lakeena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast at War on Anchor. We're available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And make sure you follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
That's right. Smash that like button. Share this program to any and everybody you know. Tell them that Second City Sports is on the air on Sports Zone Chicago every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as young folks would say. Catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Sports Zone Chicago.
And don't forget, folks, we are now on Roku TV.
That's right.
Right. Yep. And just go to your Roku TV or your Roku app on your phone, laptop, smart TV, Chromebook, whatever you have. Just search Sports Zone Chicago. It's all right there, as you can see right there. Just click on it. You can download it. You can check out our shows. Also, too, of course, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas. And I know there are going to be a couple other shows that are going to be premiering, I think, sometime in the next few weeks with the football season coming up. So we're doing some big things here at Sports Zone Chicago. So make sure you guys check us out. And, there's a busy sports weekend ahead. You got the Tour Championship for all you golf fans. Scotty Scheffler's championship to lose at $10 million and such. of course, Tiger and Rory McIlroy have, decided to go goodbye with the PGA Tour, and kind of a little sort of like, like an uppercut to the Live Tour by offering like an event and such, with, tens of millions of dollars and whatnot. I know more details will be shown. It's not going to come to fruition until 2024, but I'm sure we'll see more and more of that. But, check out the Tour Championship on NBC and also on the Golf Channel. Scotty Scheffler kind of like in the driver's seat there to win the FedEx Cup as well. Of course, also got the Lily World Series. They're getting ready to wrap up. You got Hawaii and Tennessee. I think Hawaii is undefeated in their play. So they'll be facing Nashville, Tennessee for Nolensville, Tennessee, I should say, for the championship there. Also for the U.S. chip on the U.S. side, I should say. I'll make sure I get that right on the U.S. side. On the international side, I believe you've got, let me see here, like the third scheduling. Well, I know those a team from Chinese Taipei. Of course, they're hoping to kind of get back into the winner's circle there as well. And I forgot who they're going to be playing against. But yeah, so make sure if you guys are at the Lily World Series, that's wrapping up this weekend. You guys check that out as well. Also, you got soccer, you got tennis as they're warming up for the U.S. Open. Of course, you got the WNBA. The Sky will be facing the sun.
Yes, good luck to the Sky.
Night.
Yeah, we told you they were going to win on our last episode, and look what they did.
Yeah, that game will be on ESPN2. This is the best of 5. That'll be on ESPN2 at 7:00. So, guys, if you guys get a chance to check it out, you can. So, a lot of sports this weekend, Sid. Whew, boy.
Yeah,
we're getting
let's get up out of here.
Yeah, I'll say yeah. So, boy, that was exhausting. But for Sid, I'm Lakeena. If you're not going to get vaccinated, wash your hands, wear your mask, and be good to each other. This has been Texas Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you Monday.
Go Northwestern. Till then, holla!
Enjoy all the sports, everybody.